All right, welcome back for part 2 of fashion history. This video we're going to go through 1950 to 2010. All right, so we're going to start with the 1950s. So the war is over, and that means rationing is over. So we're not making clothes out of our flour sacks anymore. We can get things like nylon, all of those different things. There's a baby boom. A lot of babies are born in this era. So that means that children's clothing actually becomes a thing. Before this, children just kind of wore what adults wore. It wasn't until the 50s in that baby boom era when there were things like footed jammies and onesies and all those things we kind of associate with childhood. That didn't happen until the 50s. Rock and roll comes on the scene, and so that's going to influence how a lot of people dress. And then for the first time, teenagers have after-school jobs, so they have their own money. And that means that they have their own money to spend. And so businesses and stores are going to cater to the teenagers, and they develop their own fashion sense that's not their parents. All right, we still have a silhouette in the 50s, and it's the hourglass silhouette with the accented lower half. All right, so we're going to cinch in the waist, and then as we look through some of the fashions, there's going to be really wide skirts, like skirts with yards and yards and yards of fabric. Ruffles and things like that to accentuate that lower half. So here's another kind of example of the different hourglasses that happened in the 50s. There's this one. Here's one with like a poodle skirt, and then of course Marilyn Monroe. All right, all of those things contributed to that silhouette, hourglass silhouette. All right, so 50s is the rock and roll era. So women, we have poodle skirts. They're going to wear saddle shoes, capri pants, and the new look. For men, we have dark flannel suits. There's kind of the Ivy League look where they wore khaki slacks and a sweater. And then the opposite of that, which was influenced by rock and roll, is the greaser look. So we'll take a look at these fashions. So everybody knows what a poodle skirt is. It's cinched in at the waist to give that hourglass, and then it's just yards and yards of fabric that's actually cut in a circle to make it really full. All right, the saddle shoes are these white shoes with the black band at the laces. Those were popular. The capri pant. Okay, women still really didn't wear pants in public. Like they could wear them like for extracurricular kind of activities. And so, but the capri pant was considered a little bit more feminine than just full-on slacks. And so that's why women wore capri pants. All right, and then there's the new look. So Christian Dior is a designer in Paris, and he comes up with this new look. It's the cinched-in waist, and then yards and yards of that fabric for those really full skirts. It was supposed to be kind of in opposition to how we dressed during World War II in the 40s. We wanted more fabric because it was available. And Christian Dior said he wanted to make women look like women again. Right, for men, we have a dark flannel suit. It's kind of funny. There's even a movie from the 50s called The Man in the Gray Flannel Suit. All right, with Gregory Peck. But it's just a dark suit. Typically, they're gray. They could be tan or navy, but typically it's gray. All right, the Ivy League look. What we would kind of consider preppy now. A jacket with some slacks. All right, khaki pants and a sweater. All right, the Ivy League look. And then rock and roll gives us the greaser look with the leather jackets, the white t-shirts, the jeans rolled up for the cuff, right? The greaser look. All right, the 60s. 60s is the civil rights, and there's also a big push for cultural identification. What is your culture, and do you dress to kind of identify you with that culture? There's the Vietnam conflict, so we have hippies that were against the war, and we have the British invasion, where the Beatles and the Rolling Stones kind of take over music. So the fashion silhouette in the 60s is tubular, straight up and down, no emphasis on the waist, which is when you think about hippies, how a lot of them dressed. There wasn't a lot of emphasis on the waist. All right, for fashion, women wore mini skirts and pantsuits and the pillbox hat. Men had tailor suits, the mod look, and turtlenecks. So here are some examples of some mini skirts. It could be a mini dress, like if you look, these are mini dresses, or it could just be a separate skirt, but the hemline drastically went up in the 60s from the 50s. Right, pantsuit. Women still didn't wear pants a lot, like it was becoming more and more common, but they felt that if your jacket and your pants matched, it was more dressier than just wearing like slacks or pants. And then the pillbox hat, Jackie Kennedy made the pillbox hat popular. It's just a hat that kind of sits on the top of your head. It looks like the lid to a pill bottle that you get from the pharmacy. So that's why it's called the pillbox hat. All right, men wore tailored suits. So you can see that it's tailored to fit their body. And then younger people or teenagers had the mod look, which was inspired by the Beatles or the Rolling Stones. And then turtlenecks. Instead of wearing a dress shirt under your blazer, men would wear a turtleneck and then put the blazer over it. And then obviously there's no tie. All right, in the 70s, we have disco, the energy crisis, and Watergate. So the silhouette is an A-line silhouette. It would also be considered a triangular silhouette. So if you look, the shoulders are narrow and then the bottom flares out. So we still have a lot of that fabric. A couple of times it does still identify the waist, but the shoulder's narrower and then there's lots of fabric on the bottom. So women started to dress in a unisex type fashion. And that just means that there was they moved away from like dressing like a boy, dressing like a girl. You just dressed how you wanted to dress. It didn't matter. There's bold flower prints and platform shoes. For men and for women, there were bell bottoms, really wide legs at the bottom, really wide ties, and wide collars. All right, so here's some unisex fashions. All right, again, we don't want to be dressed like a boy. We don't want to dress like a girl. We just want to get dressed. Okay, here's some examples of those bold flower prints. They're typically in really bright, contrasting yellow, orange, brown colors. And then platform shoes. The sole of the shoe was really, really thick. All right, so you were like walking on a platform. All right, here's some examples of bell bottoms for men. Wide leg pants. They had really wide ties. Like, look at this tie right here. It's really wide. Sorry, my dog. And then wide collars. Like if you look at the points of this collar, it's very, very wide. So the 80s has several different kind of designs or fashions that it's known for. So it was known as the Me generation. There were yuppies on Wall Street in the term called conspicuous consumption, where you wanted people to know how much money you had. So you wore designer jeans, you drove nice cars, you wore expensive jewelry. You wanted people to know that you had wealth. And then President Reagan does lead conservative ideals for some of the country. All right, so the silhouette in the 80s is the European V, or we call it the inverted triangle. So women are now working in corporate America. They have office jobs. Again, when women have power, they want to be seen as powerful, so we have the shoulder pads from the 80s. All right, so dressing in the 80s, clothes not required, but totally awesome. So it's known for things like parachute pants in bright colors, splashes of color, all different kinds of things. All right, lots of different styles going on. We had Princess Diana, Cyndi Lauper, Madonna, all influencing our fashion. So celebrity really started to take hold and dressing like celebrities. Shoulder pads. The 80s is known for shoulder pads. For men, there's the Miami Vice suit, which is from the TV show Miami Vice. And if you look over here at Don Johnson, it's a pastel suit. You wore a t-shirt or a tank top underneath it, and then you pushed up your sleeves. All right, and so that was known as the Miami Vice suit. All right, so women, there's logos on everything. Companies use their clothing for advertising. There's designer jeans like Gloria Vanderbilt, Jordache, all became popular, and then exercise wear. For men, the ties are narrow. They wear suspenders, and then pastels and neons. So 80s is the first time where you see guys wearing pink. All right, before then, guys would never wear pink. The 80s is the one that kind of gave them the freedom to do that. Okay, so here's some pictures of logo wear. Like you can see Apple on the shirt. All right, LA Gear was popular. All those different kinds of things. Denim. Everybody was denim on denim. You wore a denim shirt or a denim top with denim pants. It didn't even have to match. It was all about the denim. All right, exercise gear in bright, funky colors. Really narrow ties for men. So if you remember from the 70s, that really wide tie, in the 80s, they were like pencil thin. Men wore suspenders, and then pastels and neon for both men and for women. All right, how people dressed in the 80s, how college girls think people dressed in the 80s. All right, whenever we have 80s day, dress up day here at the high school for homecoming or spirit week, we didn't really walk around looking like this, guys. It was more like the top picture. All right, the 90s is the age of electronics, so technology and the internet take over. All right, so the silhouette in the 90s is tubular, straight up and down. All right, for men, for women, there's the bare midriff. There's kind of a rejection of fashion, especially with those who followed the grunge kind of scene. And then men, there were really baggy pants, big sneakers, and men started to let their hair grow long. Again, after the 60s. So, bare midriff. Again, bare midriff is popular now. I know you all feel like you're being so risque with your bare midriff. Yeah, people did it before you. They'll do it after you. All right, repeats every 20 to 30 years. Showing your belly button. All right, here's the grunge fashion. I'm not sure why I have a picture of Saved by the Bell down here. Ignore that one. But, grunge fashion. All right, here's some more grunge fashion. All right, you can see really wide pants that were worn down closer to their hips than their waist. Big sneakers. And long hair for men. All right, 2000s is a mashup of previous styles and silhouettes. So there really isn't a silhouette that defines the 2000s, all right? Because it's just a mashup of everything. We can't look back on 2000 or 2010 and say this was the silhouette. One thing we can say about the 2000s is that social media influences almost every fashion, whether it's Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, TikTok, whatever you want to say. What an influencer wears is what's going to become popular. So, just a bunch of different styles we're going to talk about. So there's skinny jeans, embellishments, and hip-hop style. So by embellishments, I mean like the stitching, the detail on these different dresses. There's skinny jeans in all kinds of colors, hip-hop style, leggings, the joggers, cutouts like cold shoulder, cutouts in the back, and hipster style. There's just a bunch of different things. So these are all links that I want you to click on after you do this. I'll make the links live on Canvas, and it will go through really quick 100 years of fashion for men, women. It'll put guys and gals together, and then 100 years of wedding fashion. So go back to Canvas and just watch these videos when you have a minute. They're pretty short, so it shouldn't take you too long. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to click on Canvas and do the matching activity that I have. Thank you. See ya.